Hi folks, welcome to the Houston EVA July 2026 meeting recording. I'm Colin Lowen and I'm attempting a presentation rescue. We had a technical problem and didn't record the meeting, so we asked John Atwood to do his conversion project presentation again. Thanks, John. Before we start his presentation, I'm going to run through some notices and reconstruct some of the meeting with my marvelous memory, so it will be short. My apologies to our presenters for this crass summary of their efforts. We had about 17 people in the room and another 12 online. The TxRx Labs had suffered a flood earlier in the week, so there was remediation gear everywhere. Our thanks to TxRx Labs for our meeting space as always. So here's some of the past events that we have done, including Shop Club. They invited us to their private garage, fully equipped with restaurant, bar, barber, garage with tools, and lift, cigar room, poker room, and of course, lots of incredible cars. It's like a paid museum, I guess. Yeah, the owners are paying to show us their cars. That's nice. But they do charge $15 a person, which we didn't pay. Another event we had was we were invited to assist ProVision Academy with their EV boot camp for 5th to 8th graders, featuring Legacy EV's curriculum in which the kids can learn theory, tool skills, and actually drive a cart. Several of us joined the 30 students for a week to see the camp to the driving finale. Jim Thompson, Bill Swan, Colin Lowen, Robert Sanchez was there. There's a couple of careers. Had about 30 students total. This event already happened. This event is tomorrow, Sunday the 19th. Join us at Watershed if you can. And we don't have chapter requirements for membership, but we do recommend that you join the EVA. Good features, and you're supporting us, and we get a little piece of the action and supporting the EV revolution. They also have literature that shows many of the EVs available nowadays, and good, and other literature that's also useful for education. Robert Sanchez is doing a Bronze Eagles event. He's tabling out there, talking to the folks about EVs. If you happen to be in the Ellington Field area, might be worth checking out. The National Drive Electric Month is coming up. We have no events scheduled so far. Looking for events, festivals, conferences that we might do a ride and drive at. More to come on that. And other opportunities to advocate EVs, we're interested. And Facebook is, we get a lot of action on Facebook. People talking about battery swaps, both in vehicle to grid and battery train. We like all EVs. All right. So that was the announcements. Email us at info@Houston, Texas, HoustonTxEVA.org if you have a question or comment, ideas. And we had a presentation by Chris Celek of the National EVA. He talked about what was happening there and encouraged us to do a ride and drive, for which we can earn $5,800 from a Department of Energy grant. We're looking for places and events where we might do a ride and drive. If you know of a festival, social event, conference, etc., car show, bring it to us. We might be able to pay for drinks at the next Brews and Batteries, or have a scholarship fund, maybe start an EV Ed project. Thanks, Chris. Also, Larry Ciscon from TxRx Labs joined us to talk about the solar charging setup that the labs is having installed. A covered solar roof powering 4 level 2 chargers is the plan, being installed by a local startup. Larry also updated us on a presentation he did last year about his Martian road trip, so named from the movie The Martian. You can find that presentation in our YouTube channel. In that movie, Matt Damon makes a long trip to Mars to be rescued using an electric vehicle and had to provide his own water, food, and energy for the trip. So Larry has been looking for a way to do a cross-country trip, charging only from solar panels he takes with him and bringing his water and food for an estimated 2-week trip. A very technical challenge. He would charge during the day and travel at night. His conclusion after doing the math is that he is waiting for the EV that doesn't exist yet, that has the efficiency and space to bring all his requirements to make the trip. He decided that Telos would be a good option if it makes it to production. Got the space and the efficiency. That's enough for me. Next is The Final Frontier with John Atwood.
Welcome, everyone. It's July 2026, and we're honored to have one of our members, John Atwood, ready to talk about his conversion. I always love conversions, and he has done a super job on this one. So our Electric Vehicle Association here in Houston is really lucky that we've got John as a member. So, John, can you tell us what it is, what all that effort is that you put into doing your conversion?
Yeah, thank you, Dave. This presentation is going to be kind of a blast from the past for me, starting with where the truck started and where it is today. So this first picture, that's when I first bought it, V6 automatic transmission gas vehicle. I really like doing conversions. I've done, this is my second car conversion, and I also did a riding lawnmower and a few bicycles. And so I have a 72 Datsun wagon that you'll see a picture of a little later. And that's a great car for conversion, very simple, but I wanted something a little bigger, a little more useful and practical. Um,
And it looks kind of strange to me seeing that engine under the hood because I've seen it with the big open space it has there under the hood now. Yeah.
yeah, the factory look, it's
Mhm.
weird. So this is when I first got it. I had a bunch of work to do on the interior. It was, kind of beat up, so I had a lot of cleaning to do. And then, like I said, I like to have a truck for doing things. So uh, this is the 4-door, 6-foot bed variant of the Frontier of a mid-size pickup truck, which in the mid-size world is relatively rare. But I was like, well, I want as much room as I can get for batteries and all this stuff that I'm going to be shoving all in there.
Did, did
Go ahead.
was the truck running when you
Actually,
bought it?
when I bought it, it didn't quite run. It had an issue, and I got a pretty good deal on it. But then when I got it home, I started troubleshooting it and I fixed it. So I
Not-
figured out what was wrong with it.
No, no, don't fix it. No.
Right. I mean, I had nothing to lose because I was like, well, I bought this because I wanted to do a conversion. So if I can't fix it, then I'm just going to start on the conversion. But I wound up fixing it and I drove it a little bit as a gas car. And then
Okay.
finally I was like, no, it's time to start the conversion.
Yep.
Um, and so this is the beginning. I was like, yep, it's time to yank that thing out of there and do something more fun, something different. So this is engine removal day. So what's cool about the Frontier is the whole core support just unbolts right off the front. So the whole front of the truck is open and it makes it way easier to work on. So that's one of my favorite things about this vehicle. And then my Chevy Volt broke.
Oh,
So that was about the same time I pulled the engine out of the Frontier and I had an issue with my Chevy Volt. And as you can see, the volts kind of suffered this problem where I had some cells, um, go down after 100,000 miles on that car.
so two of
Uh,
them are showing really low voltages. Okay.
yeah, real, out of sync with the rest of them. But yeah, so anyway, it kind of all hit me at once there. But shortly after, I was like, well, I'm diving into this conversion. And this was the day I went to pick up a Tesla front motor for the pickup truck. And so this is, picking it up from the depot on the pallet, from the shipping depot. And then on the exact same day, this is the same day, I bought a Model 3. It happened to be the same day that I
Good
picked
day.
up. Yeah, I picked up that engine or that Tesla motor, and then I bought a 2021 Model 3. So this was in 2021.
Fun.
And that car is after 5 years is still going strong. It's love that car.
Good.
So this is mocking up the front motor in the Frontier. And so there's a lot of welding to do here, a lot of cutting steel. And so you can see here, I have it hooked up to my engine lift with these straps, and I'm mocking up these steel mounts on the right side and the left side to
Ah,
basically put it low enough to where it doesn't block anything. Like the steering shaft is right there in front. Yeah.
okay.
And so this is So I have a few technical pictures, and this is how you build a custom high voltage wiring harness. And so this is the factory high voltage connection for the motor. And so I'm crimping on my own lugs.
Hmm.
And so you just use a hydraulic crimper, and that's what it looks like for people who have never seen that before.
Okay.
So then, as I kind of finished up mocking the motor, I transitioned into some of the accessories like power steering and power brakes. And so power steering, I'm not going to be running a pump or anything like that. So I wanted to do electric power steering and electric braking. So this is the steering column on the inside of the truck, and you can see I kind of have a hole there. So I bought this guy. And this is actually the electric power steering from a Saturn Vue, small SUV. So they had an electrically powered steering column. So here I've disassembled that column and I'm going to retrofit this motor into my steering column. And so boom, it's done. I did it. So
Okay.
this picture, you can see where that hole was. I now have the motor with the control box all wired in.
Mhm.
And here's some pictures of that conversion where I took out the Frontier steering column and I started working on adapting the motor into it. So here you can see I've adapted the motor into it. I took the motor off and just taped it off with blue tape because the motor's kind of heavy. So it's made it easier to work on the adaptation.
Mhm.
But this is the steering column after I've adapted it.
Okay.
And then this is the power brakes I started working on. The hole in the back there on the left side, that is where the brake booster used to be. So I took out the factory vacuum brake booster and I went with a Bosch iBooster.
Mhm.
And so the Bosch iBooster is actually used in the Teslas and in some of the Hondas. And so they're very popular. And it's a very good electrically 12-volt driven brake system. And
Mhm.
so it worked out pretty well for me. This booster bolted up almost identically to the mount that my old Frontier booster bolted to. So I believe the connections are fairly standardized, the bolt pattern. And so I just needed to adapt my brake lines to this master cylinder. Oh, and then after I did that, I bought a dog.
Hey, all right.
So
Fun.
I took a break and got a dog. After figuring out all of the brake booster lines, like the different flarings, the bubble flare, the ISO flare, the dim flare, how, which one is which, it's fairly technical, so I needed a break.
Wow, wow. So yeah, it just shows the effort that you had to put into even these, in my mind, subsystems like the brakes. I mean, of course, there's going to
Mhm.
be the drivetrain, the motors, and everything, but yeah, all the steering and brakes, you've got to really analyze, as you say, everything right down to the flare fittings. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the brake booster, you have to mount it. You have to figure out mounting. You have to figure out the clevis, how that mounts to the brake pedal. You have to figure out the wiring, the 12-volt wiring, how to activate it, not just the power, but the signal to activate it. And then you have to figure out how to adapt all the lines to it.
All
So
right.
there's a few resources online that are very helpful. There's a guy, EV I believe.com. If you just Google EV Create, he has a lot of really good information on Tesla, pumps and air conditioning compressor and eye booster, and the valves for the coolant system for Tesla, controlling all those things. So
Great.
um, after I got the dog, I also moved. So this
Um,
is I was moving the truck to its new workplace. So I needed more space to be able to work on this thing.
yeah, very good. Very good.
And then I went to, this was the San Diego Electrify Expo.
Okay.
That's show
Right.
off, I bet.
Yeah, that was the show off. This is the conversion area. And so this guy, his name is, he goes by Johnny Five. He has a YouTube channel. This is a Toyota Hilux. And he did a really good conversion on this. He used the same like small Tesla drive unit that I used. He put it in, he has one in the rear. And then he has a BMW i3 battery in between the frame. So the engine bay is just kind of open for charging and things like that. So it's a great conversion. He has a YouTube channel on it. So that was there. That was really great to see that and help motivate me for my conversion. We also got to ride on this catamaran, fully electric motors, solar on the boat, with batteries that control the motors and also the living quarters. Very nice
Mm,
boat
Nice.
around the San Diego Bay.
mm.
And then when I got back, I had ordered some custom drive shafts for the front of my truck conversion. And so these are for the front motor to adapt the motor to the Nissan front wheel drive hubs. So these were custom made for that. And so here I'm starting to put it together. The motor, I mounted it and I put the drive shafts in so they were all connected. And then I connected a temporary battery in this tub in the front. and I put oil in it. So you got to make sure most of the Tesla drive units use a like a power steering type fluid. So that's what this is. This is the ATF. This is what's recommended.
Ah, okay.
Dextron 3 or 4, something like that. But you can see the CB axles connected sort of in this picture.
Yeah.
And then this is the first test drive.
Hey,
So
it
with the
works
temporary battery,
with the
yeah,
temporary battery. Yeah.
this is a 72-volt battery.
And away you go. All right.
There we go. That's it. I just needed a quick test. Now it's ready to get back to
Woohoo.
work.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. Once around the circle, and that shows you've
Yeah,
got it running. Yeah, got that motor connected up in a way that it, through those drive shafts that you had specially made, or got it all going. All right.
yeah, that's all I needed to prove that okay, I can keep going now. It's working. So obviously, next step was start working on cooling, the Tesla drive unit. On this picture on the right side, that's the motor. And then on the closer to us on the front side, that's the inverter. And then in the middle, in the back, that is the reduction gear with the differential.
Uh-huh.
So that all those pieces are together kind of in one case, a very compact unit, and it's called a drive unit. And so there's two coolant inlets, one for the motor, one for the inverter, and then of course two outlets. So this was kind of prepping my plans for how I would cool the system. That's another reason why I don't get to take it on a very long test drive. It's because it didn't have cooling. So just test it out. Okay, now I got to work on the cooling.
Okay.
Oh, and in the meantime, my air conditioner broke.
Oh,
And so I installed new air conditioning units in the house about that time. So I had to take a lot of breaks on this project. So I'm, spent 3 or 4 years on it with breaks in between.
mhm.
And so this was battery day. Luckily, this is not my car. This is not my 2021 Model 3.
Yeah.
Um, this is actually at a junkyard here in Houston. They
Ah,
had this car, and I bought the complete battery assembly for this car.
okay.
And so you can see this is the dual motor long range 78 kilowatt hour battery. With that the big piece on top, kind of leaning on top, that is the high voltage wiring that connects from the back of the battery and goes underneath and connects the high voltage to the front motor. So that's how they get the high voltage. So I wanted that piece because I have a front motor. So I wanted to be able to utilize that, and I wanted all the wiring and everything.
So did you have to do all the disconnecting yourself?
No, yeah, I didn't have that picture, but they do it for you. It's their car, and so they have the forklift, and they
Okay.
have a mechanic on site, and they remove it for you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I
And then
noticed the
they,
forklift and I figured, well, that thing's got to be really heavy. So yeah, dropping it down out of the car and then spinning the forklift around but yeah, there's got to be a lot of work to getting it out of from under the car sitting on the ground. Yeah.
yeah, there's a good amount of work, and the gentleman that was working on this, he did a really good job. The battery
Good.
was clean; it wasn't, beat up, and then they put it into my trailer for me.
Okay. Good.
And yeah, this battery weighs about 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, yeah. You're not going to easily push that around. Yeah, 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, and so this is how we actually got it off the trailer.
Okay.
And so that's my dad. And so you can see we had a whole bunch of straps holding the battery at every quarter. And then I basically used the engine lift to pick up the battery. And then I drove the forklift out from underneath it.
Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, that was the way to do it. And so this was a monumental task is to get the cover of the battery off. because Tesla glues the cover down with this RTV sealant that is like a oil pan gasket. It is a lot of work to chisel the cover off. And so I was really
Wow.
happy I finally got it off.
Yeah. Huh.
But you can see the way this battery is structured. There are four long modules, two in the middle are slightly longer than the others. And so each module is about 6 feet in length. So they're pretty
Okay.
hard to package. Where do you put them? Um, so this is there's a plug on on the hump on the battery is called the penthouse. And so that has the BMS, that plug that sticks out of the top of it. And that's what this plug is. And so
Oh,
here you can see I found someone online that had figured out what all the connections of that plug were
okay.
and how you're supposed to interface it. So you can see it has a vehicle CAN bus and the charge port CAN bus, and then inverter, and then of course battery and ground. And so what you can do is you can set up an OBD reader and you can read all of the information off that BMS, even with the battery outside of the car.
Okay.
And so here I'm using an app like Torque or something, and I'm reading basically the state of charge that the BMS is seeing on the battery and all the cell voltages to make sure that the battery is healthy and there's no issue, and I don't need to do any warranty or anything like that with the salvage guys.
Mhm.
And so here's the setup. So I basically I had the connector for the the port coming off the VMS, and then I wired in an OBD port and used an OBD reader to read that. And you just have to connect it to a 12-volt battery to wake it up and activate it.
Okay.
And so this is diving a little bit deeper into the battery. So here I've pulled off the penthouse cover, and you can see all the components that they put in the battery. So basically, Tesla, they've decided to put all high voltage components inside the battery itself. And so the modules are underneath this section here called the penthouse. And so you have the BMS, the black computer on top, and then the silver box is the charger, which is also the DC-DC. You have the contactors on either side. You have the DC-DC fast charging contactors. And of course, you have the charge port where the charge port plugs into the battery. And then these fuses on the kind of the bottom right, those are lower amperage, high voltage fuses for the air conditioner and the power steering, I believe. Maybe just the air conditioner. Um,
Wow, there's a lot packed in there. So that's all what they call the penthouse. And I'm trying to think of the arrangement when it was in the Model 3. Was that like under the back seat or something along that area?
Yeah, this section is under the back seat, and
Okay.
actually you can access it without taking the battery out of the car.
I was going to say, yeah, you didn't have to chisel this out.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
then.
if you
Interesting.
need to replace the charger or one of these components or one of the fuses, or actually the pyro fuse is the big black looking thing that, well, it's kind of a small black thing in the middle bottom of this picture. That's the pyro fuse. So if you need to
Okay.
replace something like that by Tesla, they just pull the back seat out of your car and they take the
And-
cover off the penthouse and
yeah.
they can have access to these things.
Okay. Yeah, because once you start talking about fuses in there, then it's like, well, you want some access to fuses. Yeah, in
Yeah.
the original arrangement. So good. Okay.
Yeah. So when actually you take this battery out of the car, there's a giant hole between the bottom of the car and the inside of the car. If you take the rear seat off, it's just a
Okay.
hole because this comes up through that hole.
Comes up into it. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
So about that time, I took a break and I bought a toolbox. So
Ah,
I needed a place to put all my tools.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good thing. Yeah.
And there you can see the welder, my Hobart welder. It's a 110 welder, and I'm able to do pretty much the majority of the welding, making brackets and mounts that I needed to do for this project.
Mhm.
This is I'm back working on the reconfiguration of the battery.
Mhm.
I wanted to be able to put these battery modules lengthwise underneath the truck in between the frame rails.
Mhm.
So I needed to reconfigure it a little bit, and the idea was to take the outer two modules and stack them on to the inner two modules and making kind of a 2x2 brick.
Okay, because you had more height under the truck than what the original vehicle had. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't have this much length. This battery is almost exactly 5 feet in
Uh,
width.
okay.
But so these batteries, they're not the top ones are not going to rest on the bottom ones. You can kind of see along the side, there's these little feet,
Mhm.
polycarbonate feet. And so they actually raise the battery up a little bit to where it's not resting on the battery underneath.
Mhm.
And then I built kind of a rail system on the middle beam to levitate the battery because all four of these batteries are actually levitating in this case. They're being held up on the edges. And so
Oh,
there's like an air gap of like a half inch or more between the bottom of the battery and the bottom of this case, or the inside of
okay.
this case.
Uh,
So I wanted to mount them very similar to the way Tesla had mounted them.
yeah.
And so this is after I've finished that reconfiguration and I've started to build a beam that would sit in the middle of the battery. And so this is going in underneath the truck for the first test fit to see if everything's going to fit. And so the
Mhm.
idea is on a Tesla battery, it is actually mounted up through the floor, even in the middle. So the battery is bolted all the way around the outside, but then even in the middle, it's bolted up through the floor, and that's because the battery needs support in the middle. Um, being 1,000 pounds, the battery will sag if it doesn't is not supported in the middle as well.
Mhm.
So the idea here is I put this beam in the middle, and the beam is supported on the front of the truck and the rear of the truck, bolted into the frame. And also I have a support in the middle of the beam that's holding the beam up into the cab where the seats bolt to. So I'm
Mhm.
supporting essentially this beam, and the battery's kind of hanging from the beam. And then, of course, I have it bolted on the outside all the way around on the outside.
Mhm.
So I didn't want this battery to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
this is the first test fit where I'm just kind of looking at my clearances, seeing how much space I have when I need to cover the battery, side to side, up and down space. And as you can see, it's got a pretty good amount of space. This is like
Yeah.
8 inches from that one of those beams, the side beams, to the edge of the frame of the truck.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Beautiful mounting in there. Yeah.
yeah, I did have to space the battery down a little bit. Um, it has it has a little bit too much height, and I wanted some more space, so I took a 1 inch piece of steel and spaced it down a little bit, which is fine. The truck has plenty of height, so it wasn't a problem.
Mhm.
And this is working on the rear the rear mount, um, the high voltage cables for the rear of the battery. Sorry.
Mhm.
Um, oh, and then in that time, I had another break. This I believe is a meet that we had in IKEA for the HEVA, and it wasn't Earth Day. I believe this was Drive Electric month.
Nice. Mhm.
So I believe this is 2023, if I have it correct.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see Colin's Roadster is there, and then my Model 3 is also there.
Yep. Perfect.
Oh, and I got another dog. So yeah, the first dog needed a companion because I spent all my time in the garage working on the truck. So,
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
and so here I was back at it. trying to figure out what to do with all the components in the penthouse and
Yeah.
how to connect the fuses and the battery modules back together.
Mm.
So I removed this from the penthouse, and this is just kind of like I'm working on the cooling. I'm working on figuring out where to put these bus bars and where the fuses would go.
Wow.
Um, so I decided I wanted to put as much as I could back in the factory location. So I basically made some trimming on this piece and I put it right back there. So basically the connections for the high voltage would be mostly factory except for the two on the top.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
that means that the fuse, the pyro fuse, and the shunt for the BMS and the low voltage fuses, all of those things would be in the factory location.
Okay.
And then as I was working on coolant and testing the fittings, you need to have the proper coolant. So this is the coolant that Tesla recommends. Says Tesla on it.
Yeah.
So what I
Yeah.
did is
Among the different brands on there, I liked it. Yeah. Since you have it going through a hardware from Tesla that you've put into your Nissan Frontier, or the final frontier, as you call it.
right. It is the final frontier. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That's the name of the car. Um, Here I started working on the back. I wanted to make a tilt bed so I could move the bed up and I would be able to work underneath it. So
Mhm.
this is kind of the beginning where I built a frame and some brackets to hold um some dump brackets on the back.
Mhm.
So it would pivot the bed, and now I'm figuring out how to raise the bed.
Mhm.
And so this
There
is the
you go. Yeah.
idea, is
Uh-huh.
to raise the bed.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah.
Oh, and then we had another meet.
Yeah.
I actually think this was an Earth Day, one of the Earth Days.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, and then in the meantime, um, my gas SUV broke.
Ah,
So this was the water pump went out, and they bury the water pump on this engine inside where the timing chain is. So it's ran by the timing chain. So you got to disassemble the whole side and front of the motor to pull the water pump out. So
that just
that
took time away from the real frontier work.
yeah. But I got back at it, and so here is working on some wiring. Um, this is this is the original interior, and so it was the summer I think of 24. I decided to do a complete interior swap. And so this
Mhm.
was a Frontier that was in the salvage yard, and I basically took the entire interior, dash, headliner, door panels, carpet, I cleaned up everything and I completely redid it. So you remember the picture of the rear seats? Well, now it
Yeah.
has a full leather interior with the dark
Woo.
gray carpet and all the plastics. So that took me a while to swap all these panels out.
Oh, it must have taken a lot of time, but it looks super sharp. All right.
Does.
Yeah, and then one of the things is these seats are heated seats, and my original seats were not. So I'm working on wiring the heated seats.
Ah.
And then I went ahead and purchased the rear motor.
Mhm.
And so this is a similar motor to the front. It's in the uh, Tesla Model S and Model X 2018 induction drive units. And so they're
Oh,
kind of identical front to rear. So they're about 250 to 300 horsepower, capable. And so you put two of them in a vehicle, you still got a lot of power.
yeah, super.
And they're more compact than other options, and of course the Tesla performance drive unit. They're also lighter. So this unit's about 200 pounds, whereas the performance drive unit is 300 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
So I have to balance, how much weight and power do I think the battery will be able to provide, and so that's why I chose those motors.
Mhm.
This picture, I was starting to work on the suspension for the system. Um, and so I wanted to go with, it's called a DDon tube style axle and suspension. And so the two, you have two hubs on the sides where the wheels connect, and you have a beam that connects both of them. And then the tube in the middle, that's just a representation of the axle where the drive axle would go. And so in the middle will actually be the motor, and there will be CV axles connecting it. This was another thing I designed, and this was a spacer, so I could reuse the Nissan hubs for the CV axles, and I was able to reuse factory Nissan Frontier components. This is dimensions of the Dion tube that I showed. And so this was the day that I started removing the axle. So I wanted to, after I designed the Dion tube, I wanted to go ahead and start mocking up and figuring out how I would mount everything. So this is me removing the original live axle.
Mm.
And so this was actually over at TxRx in the lab. There's a welder over there, and this is 3 inch by 3 inch by quarter-inch steel. And so being able to cut it straight and have a welder that can fully penetrate a weld, from one side because it's boxed. I definitely needed something more powerful. So this is the only thing on the truck that I wasn't able to weld myself or cut myself. And so I had this guy do it. He did a phenomenal job. So
Great.
he made it straight and everything.
Nice.
So this is after he mostly finished welding it. And then I took it home and I started drilling my mount holes and working on the mock-up. So this mounts to leaf springs. And so this was the mock-up of my new rear brakes. Um, if you're going to put in a bunch of power into a vehicle, you also have to have good brakes.
Oh, yes. Very important.
And so these are the rear brakes, and they're high performance brakes made specifically for the Frontier. So I was able to reuse parts without having to custom make a bunch of random stuff.
Makes sense. Use the parts that you can use. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is mocking up the Dion tube and also figuring out where the motor will fit and how much clearance I have for everything. And so you can see that the Dion tube kind of wraps around the front of the motor. So I needed to build a mount, pretty close to the front of it.
Hmm.
And so this is one of the mounts that I built for the motor.
Hmm.
And so you can see there's a lot of welding there. I wanted this motor is pretty powerful, so I wanted some pretty heavy duty mounts.
Hmm.
And so this is like 1/8 inch steel. And so this is mocking up with those mounts that I was making. And the easiest way to mount it is you just stack up some 2x4s until you get it exactly where you want it.
Sure.
That's a lot of
Uh,
trial and error.
yeah, it's a lot of work. And so that's why I needed a break. Um, and so this is me and my dad at Electrify Expo this is in Austin in 2024, I think,
Mhm.
at the Circuit of the Americas track. And so
Nice.
I also was able to drive a Model S Plaid on the Circuit of the Americas track. So
Super.
that was pretty great. I really enjoyed getting to drive that car.
Mhm.
But then I was fueled and ready to get back into it and excited. So this is mocking up the those rear brakes with the rims I was going to get. And so I had the motor mounted at this point. I'm working on wiring and mocking, make sure everything would fit.
Good.
Um, this is the parking brake actually. So the
Oh,
Tesla parking brake is the black little caliper that's on the right side. And
okay. So it actually is a separate caliper. Interesting.
yeah, it's a pretty big unit. You can see how far back it goes. It has a giant motor on the back of it.
Ah,
This is the factory brake that they used on the the earlier versions of the Model S. So up until 2021, so the Model S all up in yeah to 2020, they used this, separate caliper where you have two calipers. But then when they went to the Model 3 and the Model Y and they redesigned the Model S in 2021, they went to an integrated caliper that has the parking brake as part of the brake caliper.
okay. So,
So for people like me, I can buy this unit and it doesn't have anything to do with my regular brakes. So I
mm,
can mount it and wire it separately.
okay. Yeah, I knew they had electric parking brake. I didn't realize they had approached it with one idea for the earlier models and then decided to go with fewer parts and integrate it into the regular brake later. Good. Okay.
Yeah. This is where I started working on cooling.
Mhm.
So you can see this was my first attempt and it didn't quite work out. The parallel pumps was not a good idea. So I had to go to a series pump configuration.
Oh,
But this is kind of the like mock-up of where I'm running all the hoses. And so I'm using this radiator to cool everything, to cool the battery, the motors, the inverters, the
okay.
charger. The charger's a big one. The charger won't work at all unless it has water flowing through it.
Really? It's got so much heat in there, you really got to get the heat out. Okay.
I think actually Tesla's monitoring the flow. And so I'm using the factory BMS
Mhm.
and also the control of those things, the charger and the battery.
Mhm.
And so I believe they're monitoring coolant flow. And if there's no coolant, it won't initiate charging, even if you have it plugged in.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way because I kept trying to get it to charge and it wouldn't charge. And as soon as I hooked up any kind of flow, it started charging.
Yep. That proved it. Yeah.
Yeah. This was working on the charge port.
Mhm.
So I needed like a box to be able to house the original Tesla charge port, and I made a lip on it, um, so I could add on any other kind of accessories.
Mhm.
And this is kind of a screen of the control software I'm using. I'm using the EV controls software to manage the battery and to control the motors.
Mhm.
Um, Yep. So here's the rear, mostly done actually. I
Good.
rem so in the middle you can see I remote mounted the charger in a box outside of the battery.
Mhm.
And I ran all the coolant, I ran all the high voltage, I have the rear motor mocked up. Everything is mocked up. I didn't have the parking brake on at that time. So I had the factory brakes on it, but I was waiting to buy tires. I kind of had to do things in the right order because my original rims wouldn't fit on the new calipers and the Tesla caliper. So I needed bigger rims to be able to fit everything.
Yeah.
And so this is the CV axles for the rear. So I went with a custom 930. It's a Porsche 930 CV axle, which is pretty common in racing. I like it because I'm able to bolt and unbolt it at the flange on the drive unit without having to um, like have a spindle or a spline that pokes out that I'm not able to wiggle out. So this I'm able to just unbolt it and bolt it in. And so these are all the parts that make a 930 axle work. So you have the cages, the balls, um, and the CV joint itself, and the actual axle. So there's a lot
Mm.
of parts that go into assembling these things.
Yeah.
And then I jumped to building the middle support mount, actually. So this is the support mount of the battery. And I put it um, where in between the front seats underneath the glove box. So you actually can't see it. And it's being supported by the rails that the seats bolt to.
Oh, okay.
And then, this was our last meet at the 1940 Air Terminal for the
Oh,
HEVA.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's super. Yeah, yeah. You're upstairs in the air terminal building looking out to where we had all our members bring their vehicles, and we have the feather flag out there and our table. And yeah, yeah.
Yep.
The one fancy airplane off to the left there. Yeah. Oh, we're
Yeah.
back in the garage and we found the oldie but goodie. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my my 72 Datsun conversion. And
Hmm.
so I'm using it to go pick up the cover. So I decided it was time to cover the battery. And so I pulled the battery back out and I am using this aluminum piece that's 8 feet long. I had it bent. So I had it bent and then I manually did some bends myself. And
Hmm.
it sits over the battery and then I bolt it down and glue it down. So it
Okay.
was, fairly technical to be able to, I mean, the middle was easy, but the front and the back were big pain to try and figure
Oh,
out how to, I didn't basically build a box and put everything in a box, which is the easy way to do it. I went with the hardest way. And so you can see here I am building something for the front of it. And of course, I had coolant that needed to pass through. And I put a piece of plexiglass so I could see into the battery still.
good.
And you can see I've started putting sealant and sealing everything up. So it's going to be completely sealed from dust and dirt.
Mhm.
Oh, and then I went to Dallas and I went to Electrify Expo again.
Ah.
And so this was in Dallas. This was last year, I want to say 2025.
I think so.
Or
Yeah.
yeah. And then I came back and I finished up the rear of the battery. And so I have another plexiglass top where you can see in on the battery, you could see the contactors and the BMS and all the pieces that are in there, the fuses and stuff. And I built myself an access panel, so obviously if I have to mess with anything, it's easier.
Ah.
And so this is it finally going back in the truck for the last time.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and then I bought a Model S.
Yeah. Nice. Looking good there,
Yeah.
Red.
Yeah, after all that work of getting the Frontier working, um, I was like, I need a break when I buy Model S.
Yep. Way to go.
And so this is the Frontier in its current final form. Um,
So this is out at
where
Discovery Green. Yeah.
yeah, this was Earth Day, Discovery Green, just a few months ago.
Yeah. Appreciate you and everybody else bringing your vehicles out and talking to the public about them. Yeah. Oh, and I see where the charge cable is there too.
Yep, I put an exhaust tip on the charge port, and so you plug into the exhaust tip.
Yeah. Way to go.
Nice.
Yeah. So actually, you can't really tell this is an EV um, until like when you see it driving around, you can hear the motors, and so it kind of has an interesting sound. It kind of sounds like an airplane.
Mm.
Um, and so, it's very quick. It's definitely putting down 400 horsepower. And so it just kind of takes off like a rocket. Like it very much feels like you're driving a Model 3 Performance.
All
Nice.
right.
But yeah, so a few more things to do. I'm currently working on air conditioning on it, getting all that together. But
Okay.
it's driving and working. I've been using it to do truck stuff.
All
Well
right.
done. Well done. It's really
Yeah.
impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope to get a ride in it someday.
Yeah, either and when it's not summer or when the air conditioning works.
Oh,
Details.
well, that is quite a story, John. We really appreciate you telling everyone in the club, and because everyone in the Houston EVA is fascinated by all the things that you can do, and of course, you showed just how much hard work it takes to do a conversion, and you put that hard work in, and you've got your running Final Frontier now. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
A glutton for punishment, I think.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. So, all right. Uh, Colin, were there any other comments that we wanted to bring in? I mean, we've got our Batteries and Brews coming up on Sunday, the 26th. And
Yeah, that's coming up this weekend. Yeah. So
mhm.
I was,
Oh,
yeah, and
sorry, Sunday, the 19th. I said it wrong. I'm
then,
thinking, okay, we did not take the 26th. We took the 19th because that's the last day of the FIFA soccer finals, and that the very last game. And so everyone can come on out on Sunday, the 19th, to Watershed, and we can talk EVs for an hour, and then we can all watch the final soccer game together.
sounds good. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
All
So,
right.
all right. Thanks, guys.
I'm gonna, okay.
Would energize those contactors and it would work. And I would basically have to go to like a non-Tesla station, or if I went to a supercharger, I would tell Tesla that it's something.
The tilt bed in the back. That's great that he added the tilt bed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The rear motor, interior, and the front motor. There goes John backing it out.
Okay. And so now it's going to be weighted. There we go.
All right. Good job, guys.
Whoa.
All right. Thanks. We'll see ya. And away he goes.